Hello viewers, this is Wolf here. Welcome to Wolf's Haven and to some more Monster Hunter figure reviews. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Capcom Figure Builder Cube, which is a new line of Monster Hunter statues, something akin to the Monster Hunter figure builders, the little miniatures. I don't really know what the full details of this cube set is like, but we're going to be finding out in this video as we take a look at everything here. So, if we just take a look to the front of the box here, this is of course a set of 4 monsters, and we have all 4 monsters that are going to be included in this pack here on the cover. So of course we have Mizutsune, Magnamalo, Gormagala, and Crimson Glow Valstrax right there at the bottom. So definitely some pretty cool picks. I definitely want to see what Mizutsune and Crimson Glow Valstrax are going to look like. But without any further ado, let's open this up and see what these look like. This box is actually pretty big, so it does seem like these might be a little bit larger than your typical figure builder miniatures. But as you can see, just inside the box here, we have these large cases here with all 4 figures inside. So we're going to take a look at all of those individually and then get an assessment of the quality and how they stand up to the other figure builders. So, as you can see right here, we have the first one here, which is Gormagala. Pretty cool looking box, of course. But already, the statue on the inside is actually looking pretty cool. I definitely want to take a closer look at these and see exactly what the quality is looking like. But we also have Mizutsune over here, looking pretty good in that box. Oops. Then we have Crimson Glow Valstrax right here, those wings looking really cool. And then last but not least, we have Magnamalo right here. So let's open all of these up and then take a look at these. Alright, so with the Cube Series monsters here completely out of their boxes and assembled up on their stands, the one thing that I immediately notice is the quality difference between this set and the figure builder set. I immediately like these figures a lot more than the figure builders because there's so much more detail on them. The colors, the color accuracy, and just the color detail is much higher with this. And also, there's a slight increase in the scale. These are of course a little bit larger compared to the figure builder ones, and I will do a size comparison with Mizutsune a little bit after. But I have to say that the quality difference here is really good, and I think this is a very good scale if you want Monster Hunter miniatures. So I do hope that they make more of these in the future. But let's take a look at these individually, and I guess we'll start off with Magnamalo. So you can just see, as we look at Magnamalo's body here, we have a lot of these cool color features, like some of these blue dots in between all of these serrated spikes going along the back of his body here. Some cool color transitions here with the underside of his body, with the foot, with the oranges at the bottom side and these dark purples around it. And then just the details on the spikes here too, where you can kind of see this separation points in between all of these spikes. These spikes feel very sharp as well, which is really cool. And then of course on the tail looking very distressed, looking very detailed as well. Of course the quality on this line is not going to be comparable to, say, creator's model, but I feel like it's pretty close. Like, this is definitely a step above your typical figure builder, and I do appreciate the increase in quality here with this specific scale here. And you just see on the underside of the body here with all these different color gradients and these different yellow spikes on the underside of the body. When we look towards the face, that's where you're kind of going to notice the quality difference here between this line and the creator's model line. Specifically with the eyes, you can kind of see with Magnamalo there, it's just a blue circle. There's not really much in terms of detail there. And then same thing if we take a look at Magnamalo's mouth. If you look at the tongue, there's not too much detail there. Like, it is of course better than what you'd see on the regular figure builders, but yeah, it's a step above that, and I think it does look good for this scale, of course. Now, when we talk about how these mount into their stands, these really just come with one peg, which will usually sit on the underside of these statues, And these pegs don't sit too deeply into the stand. The stand is very thin, as you can see right here. And so they just kind of slot in a little bit, so the monster does kind of sit a little bit loosely. You can just see as Magnamalo kind of wiggles around. But it does kind of give you access to kind of rotate him around on the base a little bit, just so you can position him a little bit better. But overall, it's not going to have a very tight or like locking feel when you put it onto the base. It's going to be a little bit wobbly, so just something to keep in mind. But overall, I do like the posing here, especially with Magnamalo. Primarily broadside pose with his face looking forward. You get a good silhouette with that tail arcing up in like a half moon shape there, and all of those spikes on the back jutting out, looking really cool. So we'll take a look at Gormagala now, and you can just see how it just kind of came apart. Like I said, it does sit very loosely into the base there with the peg, but Gormagala, Gormagala is looking pretty good here. There's a lot more color detail on this compared to the figure builder Gormagala. You can definitely make out these subtle purples in the upper side of the wings here. Of course, these wings looking absolutely massive here. Of course, if we look to Gormagala's face, you can see a bit of detail on the inside of the mouth there with the tongue and those white fangs around it. His eyes completely obscured by those purple horns, which looks pretty cool. There's a bit of a color gradient right here as well too, which does look nice. And then if we take a look to the underside of the wings, you can just see so much color detail under here with these golds and reds right at approaching the wingtips, with these greens which then transition into a blue and then some purplish, almost kind of like more of like a mahogany type of color down there. And the thing that is cool is that there is a bit of it does look kind of metallic-y down here too, so it's very shiny underneath the wings, which does look really good. I keep saying Magnamalo, I don't know why, but Gormagala, the tail looks pretty good as well. Like, I do like how we have these blue highlights on the spikes of the tail, as you can see here, just as the camera focuses. These little blue highlights, which has a little bit of a glitter effect on them, which does look good. Like, I do like how that offsets the overabundance of black on Gormagala here. But a lot of these sharp spikes lining the tops and bottom of the tail here, looking very good. So overall, Gormagala is looking pretty good here at this scale. So now we're going to take a look at Crimson Glow Valstrax, which this one might be the winner for me in this set here. So it is, like, I do think it's really cool to have a Crimson Glow Valstrax at this scale. Like, I feel like this is like a really good size to have these monsters. They're not too big, but not too small either. I feel like this is just the right size. Just enough for Crimson Glow Valstrax's eye-catching wings to really stand out and really shine. We got these very beautiful reds, blending with these silvers around the body here, looking very good, along with the black lining, which contrasts it very nicely here too. If we look at Crimson Glow's face, you can see quite a bit of color detail around the head. You can see those silvers as they transition up into this almost purplish color here on this spike around the head. The black beak here as well. Not a whole lot of detail on the eye, just like what we would have seen with Magnamalo here. But besides that, the rest of the body is completely abundant with good color detail. Even on the back here, where these silvers have a bit of this kind of greenish, this bluish greenish color there, this tinge on the arms and on the spikes on the back of the body here, as well as on the top of this wing here. There's so much color detail here with these different transitions towards the back of the body, looking towards the tail, with these big spikes towards the back here, looking very good. You can see that this spike here, this is actually a bit of a design fault right here. This part of the tail is kind of flopped over, so unfortunately that's a little bit of a flaw there, but I can definitely fix that and kind of straighten that out a little bit. But this did kind of come out a little bit bent out of the packaging, unfortunately. But onto the end of the tail, so much color transitions from the silvers into these purples here at the very end, and then into those spikes of the tail. So And then, yeah, if we take a look on the inside, you can see when we look inside the thrusters of the wings, we do have a bit of that yellow mixing with the oranges, and there is like a hole that goes straight through into each section of these thrusters in the wings. So this Crimson Glow Valstrax looks very good. I think the color detail is very well done on this, especially the wing design. And I, of course, love the pose on this as well. It's going to look good posed either broadside, and you get those massive sharp wings front and center, and even forwards as well too. So, Crimson Glow, I think this might be my favorite or a close second to Mizutsune, which is the last one we're going to take a look at here. So, Mizutsune, again, within this scale, looks very good with all of this color detail. You'll notice immediately that the difference in quality and color detail is a lot more pronounced here in this Cube series compared to the Figure Builder series. So we see a lot of these different patterns on the fins around Mizutsune's face here, a bit of a pattern around the eyes there, and then you can see some of the little details here on the little fin, these little spots here around the fins, and then even a bit of a yellow pattern on the back of the fins as well too, looking very good. Some color transitions directly at the back with the purples blending into the yellows here with these spikes. Looking down to the main body, as we can see, we follow through with more of that pattern going all the way down, sweeping down towards the back of the body. One thing that you'll notice is that Mizutsune looks less silver here and a lot more white compared to the Figure Builder line as well. So I do feel that the white does allow these colors to contrast and pop a lot more compared to the silver. And then of course on these fins towards the fur of the tail, that was just the stand, this little piece of the stand here just fell off. But right here, quite a bit more of that pattern that you'll see will follow all the way through to the fur part of the tail here. The underside of the tail looking very, very detailed here as well. So as you'll notice, like I mentioned before, this will sit in very loosely on one peg, but Mizutsune actually does come with this little piece, which really all that is just to support the rest of the body. So you just kind of rotate Mizutsune a little bit so that the tail is kind of sitting on that pole, and it just holds him up so that he doesn't fall over or anything like that. So overall, I'm actually very happy with this Cube series. I do hope that Capcom releases more of these, and more monsters from either Monster Hunter Wilds, or even if they go back to doing some monsters from Iceborne, like that would be really cool. I do really like this scale and this series as well. Like they do look really cool. I think out of the four here, definitely the two of my favorites are definitely going to be it's going to be Mizutsune and Crimson Glow Valstrax for sure. I think Crimson Glow Valstrax might be my favorite of the two, for sure. So here, I just wanted to do a size comparison between the different sets with Mizutsune here, between the Cube series, the Figure Builder, and the Monster Collection Gallery. So as you can see, this is how the Cube series stacks up to this can. You can see this is a pretty decently sized statue, getting up to just about over halfway on the can here. Now, if we compare that to the Figure Builder line, right here, you can immediately see that drastic difference between the two in scale. The Cube series dwarfs the Figure Builder Mizutsune here, which is very small. And then if we add the Monster Collection Gallery version of Mizutsune into the mix, you can just see how much smaller that is. So you just have a whole transition of size, of scale going throughout these three different versions of Mizutsune here. So you can definitely get a good picture of just how much bigger the Cube series statues are compared to the Figure Builder. It's a pretty drastic difference, and overall the quality is much better as a result of that. Like I said before, the color quality is much better as well as the additional details. You can see how with the Figure Builder version of Mizutsune, there's definitely more, the whites definitely look more silverish, I guess, whereas this definitely looks a lot more white. And then when you take a look at the Monster Gallery version, Those whites are almost non-existent. They're kind of more of just a light pink when you compare that to the rest of them. So this line is definitely notorious for not having the best color accuracy, but I definitely think the Cube series fixes a lot of those issues for sure. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys found it informative. There's definitely going to be a lot more Monster Hunter figures and content coming in the future, so I hope you guys stay tuned for all of that. But until then, I hope you guys have a good day or good night, depending on where you are, and I will see you all later.